Although there had been interest in space for a long time prior to 1954 in the form of space clubs and rocket technology, a good reference point for the beginning of the space age is 17th December 1954 in an office within the Soviet Union. America, Japan, and other nations had interest. However, the Soviets were serious about space exploration, and at 1928 Coordinated Universal Time, on the 4th of the 10th, 1957, Sputnik 1 was launched, and thus the official start of the space age began. 4 years later, by 1961, we had killed a dog, sending her into orbit to overheat to death. We had also burned a trainee cosmonaut to death, and put the first man in space. Injuries, deaths, and animal testings relating to rocket science and space travel goes back a long time further than 1954 or 1957, and will be covered in another episode. The person responsible for what would ultimately lead to Sputnik 1 was the head Soviet rocket scientist, who took seriously the data collected by this man on the advancement of space programs around the world, and reported it, along with a plan for the Soviet Union's own space program, to a high-ranking Soviet officer who went on to become the Minister of Defense for the Soviet Union. A plan was hatched to beat America's plan to launch a satellite sometime in the IGY. And ultimately, the Soviet Union launched a second satellite before America's first successful launch in 1958. This one-sided beginning to the space age led to what is known as the space race, and was responsible for the formation of the USA Space Act Bill and NASA. President Eisenhower was left holding the ball, and Robert H. Goddard was left turning in his grave. Robert H. Goddard was a man of vision among space clubs and rocket science. He had worked on ideas of rocket development to the moon, and was publicly ridiculed in 1920 for his outrageous claims of a rocket able to reach the moon. Thus, once again, the world lost precious insight from a most intelligent individual, and America would not start to turn the tables until Alan Shepard entered space in May of 1961, though not yet orbit.